The Acolyte is finally over after lots of ups and downs and plenty of controversy over different episodes, so here's my thoughts on all my favorite and least favorite parts from the entire season. Won't be breaking down episode by episode or anything, but I will be going over some major plot points that I did and did not like, so if you haven't seen it yet, spoilers ahead. A huge props to the show for is Camille, or the Stranger, whatever you want to call him, our Sith of this series. I thought he was absolutely incredible and single-handedly carried certain episodes of this. He really just nailed every aspect of this character. I love the performance, the design of the character, and his fighting style, also cool, and I love his relationship with both May and Osa now. Another one of my favorite characters was easily Soul. Ever since the first episode, I really just like this dude. Again, I like just the idea of the character, how he's kind of this like Qui-Gon Jinn-esque figure. Then getting to learn in later episodes that he made some very morally great decisions. While yes, he was trying to do the best in all those situations where he was with May and Osha as children, he made a lot of very bad decisions, killing their mother, lying to them for all these years. I thought that added a lot of really cool depth to the character, because I still think he was very good until the end, but he just made a lot of mistakes along the way. Also gonna give credit to the fight choreography. Now yes, there are some goofy moments of just slow-mo and stuff that completely take me out of it, like in the last episode 8, but for the most part, anybody would be lying if they told you this was not some of the best looking Star Wars lightsaber fights that we've ever seen in Star Wars. I don't think it quite topped the Duel of the Fates, but it was very close in my opinion, and I really hope they keep this kind of style and choreography going forward, because it was electric to watch. Another thing I have to give credit to the show for is their actual decisions to kill off so many of the different side and supporting characters. We saw this with characters like Yor, Jeki, and Soul being the most notable ones. I'm not saying you have to kill off major characters to have a good show, but it really added a lot of intrigue and shocking moments into this that really were part of some of the best moments of the entire show. Like, I think Soul's death is honestly one of my favorite scenes of the entire season. Let's get into some of the not so great to bad stuff. The first problem I have is I just could not connect to the characters of May and Osha, and I think making the decision of having them pretty much be one person separated into two was just kind of weird. I'm talking about both from a story aspect and honestly the technical aspect, because her performance feels like the weakest whenever she's actually talking to May or Osha, whichever character she's being. Because I know it's been done many times before, but I'm sorry, having the same actor play two different characters in the same scene just never feels right to me, and it always just comes off awkward and stiff because you know they're not really there in the scene happening. Another problem I have with May and Osha is that both of their storylines essentially end up the same as where the show started. Yes, a lot of different side characters and stuff happens in the middle of the show, but we're basically back to episode 1 by the end. Osha's mind is pretty much wiped of everything that just happened in the show, and May is just going back to Camille. It's basically where we started. This show also had a major problem with killing its own momentum, mostly through the use of the flashback episodes, because A, there should not have been 2 separate flashback episodes. They should have just been put into one, and both of these flashback episodes completely just murdered the momentum of the show. Like, episodes 1 and 2 were kind of slow build-ups, but I was getting interested in what was happening with the mystery in the current day, and then episode 3 takes us back into the past. But the second flashback was even worse, because episodes 5 and 6 were actually really good and building up a lot of momentum for a powerful finish to the show, and then no episode 7 completely stops it dead. We go back in time to the same flashback that we already seen. Yes, there was extra details added, and I do think episode 7 was a better flashback episode, but again, it should have just been one thing, and earlier in the show, it completely killed the momentum before the very final episode. And it really comes down to the problem of this simply does not have enough content in this story to fill out an 8-episode series. It should have just been a movie or maybe like a 4-episode just mini-series. Because you can feel it in both of the flashback episodes, things like episode 4 where they're just walking through the woods for like 35 minutes, that they are just trying to artificially extend the story as long as possible to get to that 8-episode mark. The story really suffered from this, because you'd see a really exciting moment at the end of one episode, and then like 25 minutes of the next episode were just absolute nothingness again. Let's talk a little bit about the cameos. Like, the Yoda one I thought was absolutely terrible. You already made it 8 episodes without involving him, and then for no reason at all other than fan service, you have Anestra go and talk to him at the end. Like, all the loose ends were tied up. It's like, oh, nobody really knows about what happened. Nobody could possibly suspect that the Sith are back, but nope, but Anestra, don't worry, she's going to talk to Yoda. I just found this so stupid and just shoehorned in at the end. People are throwing a fit about Plagas being in this. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of liked his cameo in episode 8, because ever since we knew the premise of the series being 100 years before the Phantom Menace, people were hoping he was going to be in it, so I was actually decently excited to see him. I mean, I can't lie, I do think he looks a little bit goofy just creeping in the background of the show, but it was still a dope moment in my opinion. I do have to agree with a lot of the people that were mad with Ki-Adi-Mundi. It felt absolutely pointless. Like, there was no reason to have him in this show and rewriting just the lore of Star Wars just to have this one cameo. It could have just been a different guy of his race, but no, they had to do this just for, again, that fan service. I feel like they were also just way too confident in the fact that they were gonna get a season 2, and who knows, they might still, because of people that have been hate watching this show, but season 1 just does not feel like a nice conclusive ending. It feels like they're just keeping things open for the next future. I really hope the show can prove me wrong if it does get a second season by just taking out a lot of the filler and maybe getting some better writers that can write scripts that don't feel so wooden. My rating for the entire series is a 4 out of 10 because while I did have a decent amount of positives, none of them can really outweigh a lot of the negatives I had with the show, and ultimately I found myself just being bored most of the time, which is one of the worst things a piece of entertainment can do. If you've seen the show, I want to know what you thought of it in the comments below. Give me your rating of it 1 through 10 and maybe a sentence about how you felt about it.